Antti Hattara. Welcome back to the podcast. I think you've been a couple of times before, right?
Might have been.
Yeah, you're a busy man. So we could start about talking about our previous future, how I've known you for about 12 years, how I worked under you, and how you started in games. But we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about Merge Mayors. That's your latest game from your company, Starberry Games. And word on the street, and it's not a word on the street, I see the numbers. So you guys are blowing up. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, no. It's been a while, and things are looking very, very positive. It's getting excited in Berlin. So of course, Merge Mania is going on. That's hype in the subgenre within the industry. We've been here fairly early on. We've been big fans of playing Merge Mansion already. 2020 when we raised the seed round and kind of had eyes on the genre for a longer time. We made it happen. Then last summer, pivoted to the genre, and now of course we rushed to the market, got out early for the global launch, and ever since April, it's been a nice curve to raise after the big guys. Of course, like this year, there's been big news, 150 million credit line for Merge Mansion. So we're against fairly tough competition, but we made our biggest revenue day yesterday. We made our DAU highest number yesterday. It's 4.5 months of uphill and growing numbers.
Yeah. So when did you self launch? Because I remember we were doing the predictions on Deconstructor of Fun in January, and one of the first ones in Merge predictions, like I talked about, Future Plays game that is now under Plarium.
Yep.
That's done. And the second one that I was talking about was, of course, Merge Mayor. Like I'm very bullish on this. So of course I'm very biased because I've made the other prediction that you guys will be in top 10. If not this year, then most likely next year for Merge games. And that's why I'm like following up, because you were hitting records every day. The growth rate is really fast. So walk me through, like, when do you think you'll, like, what's your prediction given the current growth rate? When can you pass Merge, let's say Merge Magic?
Yeah, no.
From Zynga.
Milestone by milestone. I think last month we grew 30% month over month on revenue. So that's been going well on IAPs. And
that's really well.
improving the game. If we put more fuel into the tank, I think we can accelerate even faster. We've now gotten data since the April, so we know how the game's really like overperforming our expectations on month 3, 4, and so on. And I think we're going to really see nice long-term numbers for 180, 270, and 360 for kind of the next target on the list, Merge Magic. I think Q1, knowing their numbers on how much revenue they make per month. And of course, there's the leading star in the category for us, Merge Mansion, is we'll see. 2022 is something where we think we can challenge it. We're executing fairly fast on Merge Mayor. We've got our own differentiated angle, and it's about fuel. 150 on credit line for them is a it's a pretty big, they're on that Supercell tap, so they can do pretty much whatever they want to do. I wanted to ask, like, how do you said differentiate in Merge games? So let's be honest, I do not play Merge games. Surprise. Not the target audience, but I've dabbled in some of them, I mean, by dabbled, I mean one session and uninstall. So how do you differentiate in this genre? Because it seems like, looking from the above, looking at all the games in the genre, they seem to be aimed mostly towards the same audience, whether it's the Merge Mansions or the Merge Dragons or the Merge Dragons or even the Merge Mayor. They kind of have the same type of audience targeting. So I would say, 60% female. Is that correct? Yeah, no, I guess that's two questions, kind of like what's there in the market at this point, and how do you differentiate?
Exactly.
So, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of Merge games with Playrix graphics, 2D, grandma and a daughter and a broken villa. So like, I'm not playing these games anymore. I think there's enough, and there's like the winner of that category is clear. So I don't think that's kind of everyone's kind of, that's the center of the market trying to go there. I don't think that's going to work too well. We see, of course, in our Discord community, we've got some thousands of people actually actively discussing. This comes as a surprise for the audience, for the kind of 25 to 55-year-old women. I didn't know they're on Discord, but they're active, and we see that they're playing multiple merge games. They're discussing them. And,
they are.
That's been a nice insight to seeing kind of their thoughts and so on. And I think so that's kind of where there's too many games of Grandma and the Broken Villa. Few are differentiating. We, of course, have our own kind of angle with the 3D pipeline on graphics. We think that's going to be kind of a fundamental difference and helping us on everything. And I would say under the radar, bubbling under, there must be kind of more quality merge games being worked on, because the mechanic's awesome. Everyone's seeing the engagement. And even with the kind of clones or so on, everyone's saying audience engagement is crazy good. They see nice day 1, day 7, day 30. Yeah. So this is the thing that gets me excited about merge, that there's audience demand. There's an audience to playing them. Then you just kind of need to find your segments on I think expanding the category will be tapping the different audiences. We've got a lot of guys going at the Playrix style audience. And that's the older female demographic. I think there's something with more maybe story and hidden object audience. There's something more with casual puzzle, with kind of much more brighter stuff, and maybe not a Broken Villa, and even there's hyper casual ones. But I think kind of the next merge mansions are the ones that really like differentiate both on feature sets, and our kind of audience with Merge Mayor goes more towards the simulation. I think we're the Cityville of merge games. That's kind of where we're going at. So we can build on
the Cityville of merge games.
Going for that. So
I'm getting PTSD, dude. So
no. Cityville is. I think that's my research into, is there an audience? Cityville 2009 December, they added 100 million players in 1 month. So I think there's a lot of casual simulation city builder people out there that want to play that experience, and that's how you kind of then differentiate.
And interesting enough, I remember EA soft launched their sort of city building merge game, and they just closed it down. And you guys keep growing. So that's Yeah, they went with, because there's kind of a division on the merge category, right? There's the isometric, more like simulation one. And then there's this puzzle board or merge grid, which comes with Merge Mansion. I noticed the EA one with, I think that was more on the Merge Dragons and the simulation, and the isometric one. That's a tough one to kind of, I think that might be a different audience. Yeah, they still kind of merge everything into the merge genre. Yeah, and with the big publisher, like that's what's interesting about the merge genre is the companies that are growing are fairly smaller. I mean, of course, there's Zynga, there's Big Fish, but their structure is a little bit different. Like Zynga purchased Gram Games, that is still a small and nimble studio and is able to grow their game. Same thing with a Big Fish. Big Fish is a sort of like a big publisher, and the Evermerge is more like coming out of a smaller studio that I think they acquired. So it's somewhere in Ukraine or Belarus or
Eastern Europe,
like Eastern European. Vaguely speaking, Eastern Europe, actually, like more closer to ex-Soviet Union, but whatever, just called Eastern Europe. But that's the interesting part, and then kind of seeing like these bigger publishers coming in to emerge and going away from it, citing the market, citing this, citing that, and I think it comes from the point that they don't have the patience of growing. Like you've been growing Merge Mayor since when was it soft launched?
Yeah, kind of the history of, we were supposed to make the next big idle game. And I think that's kind of part of what you just spoke there, that bigger publishers, I think they observe for a while in terms of like potential of a category, and merge in a way is something that's been observed, and it's going to take a while for placing those bets at bigger companies, because you've got opportunity cost of going at new opportunities. And if they don't really it doesn't right away seem like $1 billion market, because it's not. It needs to grow there. Then that's kind of one part. But yeah, so our story, we were about to build the next idle game. We had been looking at Merge, played Merge Mansion, figured that timing is now. Let's pivot. We've got some experience with pivots. I went from Facebook casual messenger games into back to the app stores. Direction of the company changed. We even renamed it back then. And so we did this pivot in the summer of 2020. So it took us 2 months to build kind of the merge basics and get out to the market to test it. I can tell there was a fairly big difference on day 1, day 3. That's the kind of early launch metrics KPIs that you measure. What we saw with the Idle Village version of the game in June 2020, and in August, at the end of August 2020, we had Merge Mayor, the same game, same graphics, but merge experience, and yeah, there was, I don't know, like 100% increase. They doubled day 1 and day 3.
So that's the interesting part that you said. It took you 2 months to make the merge game, and that seems to be the story around the industry. It's, I think Joachim even had a webinar of like how to build a successful merge game in 8 weeks.
2 months, yeah.
Yeah, it's like this is the time that it takes, and that leads me to an interesting point. If it's so easy to make a merge game, and there seem to be merge games coming in like, almost like you're merging them together. It's just that they're just popping out of everywhere. Everybody can make it. You don't even have to have a very senior team to make a merge game. The early traction is fantastic. Day 1 is usually very high. Day 3 tends to be really high. I've heard of outrageous day 7s, but not everybody gets there. Why do you think this market is? I mean, why do you think this market is still there if anybody can make a merge game?
Yeah, I think first 7-day experience of a merge game is something fairly like easy to nail, and that's what we got right in the 2 months as well. You look at the other ones, you have the merge board. It's there's frozen items. That's going to be kind of your first 3 days of player engagement. There's just something, I don't know, psychological or something about kind of going and cleaning the board. You're obsessed with that.
Just like old Facebook games. True. Castlevilles and all those. Like when
the whole kind of FTUE in the kind of leading into that. And that's easy to get right because, of course, like it's easy to benchmark and do it. And then that kind of leads to day 7 if you get the right amount of balancing with the kind of progression of the game. And so that's definitely good sign that it works. Now I would say it's going to get tougher by the month or the day as there's more and more, and maybe even with better quality coming out. But your point or the question on that one is going to be then the day 30, day 60, day 90, day 180. It becomes a very different game after that. So maybe early days of match 3 with a Saga game, like 2012, we were making Jelly Splash at Wooga.
Yeah.
Anything with a matching like mechanic and a Saga map, you kind of you got into the race and things worked and engagement was there and monetization as well because match 3 is good at that. And now I would say we'll see kind of the playoffs starting for merge games because you kind of need to get the data for day 90.
Yeah, but tell me why are you able to get into the playoffs and others aren't able? Since everybody can start, like I just want to understand how what are the key elements so that aspiring investors like yours truly can pick up the winners in the market.
True. Yeah, I guess that took us almost like from end of August 2020 to April. So working on the balancing, the tools, the whole experience, and building that content. And there's kind of like fast ways at trying to take a shot at it. The kind of the audience engagement and the kind of progression in the game. How does it feel? What's happening? And I have to say, kind of, it took us a long time, almost up to date to build for us, like a year after the soft launch, going with when you complete missions, what is being asked, how does the progression kind of open up in terms of how much you have items, different generators, what's kind of the reward. There's a lot of polishing to that and how it's all kind of played, like presented to the user. Because of course, kind of a merge games, there's a lot of grinding. That kind of comes from, I guess, simulation. You need to enjoy grind. I think that we kind of know our audience.
That's called the game industry.
Yeah. So, but I think kind of getting those right, that's going to take a while, and I think that's where you see the kind of playoffs. If the content's just stretched and you're not really you don't have the capability to really put on that like quality there. I would say Merge Mansion, good example, what they launched with and how it took them also kind of like a year since their global launch. There's still big gaps in the game. I think might have been in some podcast or somewhere where it discussed kind of those points in Merge game when you hit, and the next one is kind of like a level gap.
Yeah. Like you have to spend like 3 weeks to get the next thing.
Just grinding for XP.
Yeah.
But you've seen Merge Mansion fill those gaps with content, like new areas in the game, and how they're not stretching it. It's kind of not replicating the content. It's not always cleaning leaves. There's actually something interesting with the story and stuff happening when you progress. So that mastering that is almost like match 3 games. All of that, the modifiers, the spawners, the kind of level progression, the kind of, you just need, matching isn't matching for 2000 level in Candy Crush. No. There's new obstacles, blockers, and all of that balancing of the whole experience is kind of vital to make it work.
So you're saying they're quite similar to puzzle games where they're deceptively easy because you can get into it, but in order to make a successful puzzle game, and as we know, with Peak being the outlier, pretty much every other puzzle company has gigantic teams where they are optimizing to the minor details of their games. So that's one part. So probably the experience of optimizing games, especially puzzle games, is a good indicator of success of the company. So of course you guys you worked at Wooga, and then Wooga had the puzzle studio. So that's clear. And the second element that I'm seeing is you have to have the publishing power. Because as you're saying, like you're slowly growing and kind of investing more and more, really looking at the paybacks, really looking at the audience, trying different type of audiences. So even though it's easy to go out, it's easy to kind of get the first Facebook audience to come into your game. But how do you expand from that? How do you find new audiences? Like, is the publishing element the second important thing?
Yeah, that's thanks for helping there, because that's actually one part of the playoffs, or the second kind of second section of it. That how do you compete? Because the good numbers, early good numbers, small cohorts that you acquire from Facebook, like our soft launch numbers were phenomenal with that as well, because Facebook just finds you the right people very efficiently.
Yes.
So that's all.
Shout out to Facebook.
But yeah, it's true that when you start scaling, and at the moment the playoffs on Merge games, it's kind of like start looking at who's reached over 1 million installs and still is able to kind of keep the numbers growing. That's then other part of the game and LTV performance, and then the other comes from kind of your ability on the whole UA performance marketing side, because of course these aren't viral games, and at the moment I would say kind of like match 3. The soft launch time for Dream Games or something like that, like it's probably up to a year. You really need to see the shape of the curve, that you've been able to figure the kind of ROAS by 6 months, 12 months, which helps you then to set the bids and start scaling. Yeah. And that's going to kind of, Merge Mansion's already doing it with very big budget and openly saying that the other like payback is set to fairly long time, and that's kind of squeezing out, I would say, anything. If you have something with similar experience, you can get it to some amount of players, but really kind of breaking through then you really need to know your long-term LTV or kind of the day 180s, day 270s, and be able to compete on that and have the bank and the scale for the publishing to be able to push on it. So
of course, tell me about like what kind of you guys were out before IDFA deprecation. What has been the indication of IDFA going away? Like, have you shifted more towards Android and that's where you're testing? Has it impacted your growth rate on iOS? Has it impacted your growth rate overall through the increase of CPM and CPI? Has it decreased your ad revenue? Because I understand ad revenue is also a sizable portion. So talk to me about IDFA.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe the last thing first, ad revenue. Yeah, unfortunately, did see a fairly like decent hit there. We were doing 50-50 first, but now we've scaled our ad revenues, or scaled the IAP way faster than the ads. So there was a hit on that, but And we're still 50-50, Android, iOS, pretty much. And I kind of think it from another point of view. It's when there's shake in the market, and we kind of global launch in April. So for us, we're building for the new world and scaling in the new world. So for us, it's an opportunity that someone else has way more to lose on iOS.
Yeah.
And we're there to leverage this opportunity and take advantage of it. And so I think, luckily, of course, this is also casual genre. So we're able to look at the even kind of country level ROASes and kind of, it's a mix between ROAS campaigns and install campaigns. Mm-hmm. So kind of reaching more broader. And I think these are kind of something that help you operate even in the future when there might be like,
so you're saying same thing. because merge games, like I remember when Merge Mansion was popping, like the same way as you guys are now, but that this was a while back, and I remember them talking about that. Listen, it doesn't matter what channel we use, we get tremendous traffic. Like they were just boasting on the streets of Helsinki that they are just like dropping any channel and every channel works. And I was taking it not like they were boasting about that, but I was taking it more as the game is so widely appealing that it doesn't have to find niche audiences. And then I'm thinking about your game, it's kind of the same thing. Like city builders are 50-50 and the core mechanic is quite appealing. Like, does that help you with the IDFA being deprecated? It doesn't have that big of an effect because of the wide appeal.
Yeah, exactly. That's, I think, the install campaigns that you're actually able to make those work, mm-hmm. that you don't need to kind of go and just very targeted, very specific, which I would say is probably kind of core game experience or core games UA that, mm-hmm. that you really need to, and you can make it work on that equation. And that was the whole thing that performance marketing got so effective, because it's able to find those users. And now that a little bit of the data is taken away or the privacy is there, then you're just shooting at the wider, like with a shotgun and trying to make that work. So so for us, I see there a lot of opportunity.
So shotgun works for Merge.
Yeah, that works for Merge, I think.
And just out of curiosity, like when you're testing your creatives, are you testing them on Android and then kind of putting them on iOS after they're performing on Android, or do you have some kind of a specific process there?
Testing actually on Facebook, and that's probably both platforms. So Android, of course, gets you more kind of detailed data, but mm-hmm. We can look at kind of, for us, it's not, we can look at that on a higher level. So I think iOS you can make work when you have a bit more scale. Just kind of had the calls with Facebook, and they mentioned that, like with smaller scale, that privacy things is not going to make it easy when mm-hmm. you have a little bit bigger scale, even for the testing part, if you can do it at a decent amount of installs. There's kind of these thresholds. Eric, the smart Eric, knows all about it. And I've been educating myself by listening to you guys talk. But the kind of conversion triggers or whatever they send, it's kind of, there's some quotas thresholds that you need to hit. So
what does your publishing team look like?
Yeah, it's something that we're going to grow. Mm-hmm. It's me. It's our marketing director. Yuri comes with experience from Muga, from Popcore, an amazing talent. And we've got data analyst, and that's kind of the publishing team for now. That's and we are using...
and everybody wears an Abercrombie and Fitch shirt like you do right now, right?
Well, that's on the business side, right?
Okay, got it. So it's only for the podcast.
The team is 20 people. So mm-hmm. like we're very focused on kind of making, like all efforts are... That's our background. That's our kind of, I would say, competitive advantage, the experience on the industry. You can see on Merge Mayor, it doesn't look like a clone there. We've got our 3D pipeline. That's something that's not as easy necessarily to build. The whole casual style and the attention to details is something that...
I was just asking because, sometimes if like I'm asking these questions to see if things are like tapped out, meaning like, if it seems like there's too much already, like, okay, that's exhausted. Let's see if there are other growth opportunities. But it seems like you're very, very lean. So you talk about how important it is to create content in these merge games to keep players progressing with relatively the same speed, just like they would do in puzzle games. Like it doesn't work like back in the days when I played Jelly Splash and 2000 whatever 16. I got no, it was 2013.
Yeah,
I got stuck for one level and for like a week because you guys like doing it so hard. Like that wouldn't work today. The same thing kind of applies to merge. Like you don't have levels, but you need to have that content, keep players progressing. Otherwise, they will quit because they're playing multiple merge games at the same time. So with your size of a team that is 20 with publishing and everything, it's still quite small of a team. So I'm assuming you're growing your team.
Yeah, that's kind of big plans. We can talk kind of the future soon, Series A, team growth, all of that. But for now, I think there's luckily, I gave my presentation at the Iron Source Level Up.
Yeah, I've heard about
the self-publishing and went through a lot of the kind of tools because that's, I think, one way to leverage kind of and stay ahead of the curve. It's all the technology that you can use nowadays, and a lot of the things what used to be built in-house at companies are now being offered as services. I don't know, like Helsinki definitely is one of the places where talking to Metaplay or these guys, it's kind of they're offering a service of something that's going to take you a 10-person team to build yourself, and plenty of other things on the whole kind of everything from UA and the whole publishing part. So that's kind of democratizing it nicely that small teams can take advantage of those. And there's way more on the UA side, AI, ML driven things that help us not have a army of UA managers tweaking bid levels and whatnot on a daily basis. It's kind of trying to, of course, and Facebook and all of these guys are rolling out more automated tools that you don't need to shuffle creatives. It's AAA campaigns or the automatic app ads and that stuff. But definitely looking forward to grow the team as well as we scale. So
how big of a team do you think is going to be, like plus 10 people and mostly in content creation?
Yeah, we Series A, double the team in 12 months.
Okay.
We need set a target of that. Probably publishing, it's the benchmarks. We're looking at how does Dream Games operate a almost $1 million game a day with UA budgets probably in the ballpark of that as well.
2 million a day.
How many people do you need for that? How do you leverage technology? And I think there's small teams that are able to operate like massive businesses, and these are the ones to learn from and look at. So, but in terms of for us, it's building a portfolio. We've got Merge abstracted into a Unity project. We're looking how to then build kind of what we should be thinking now is what's 2022 kind of a Merge hit. So we've got something else kind of coming up as well, nice. And that's a challenge for a small team to focus on two things at the same time. So of course, plenty of challenges as well with the
but those are good challenges. Like you have one game that is growing, and then you're investing into it, and at the same time you could start a second game if you'd have the resources for it. And you're out of Berlin. Are you scaling purely in Berlin, or are you thinking about other locations? Are you guys fully remote or non-remote at all? Like what's the spiel?
So 9 months I was alone at the office. We were remote due to the lockdown in Germany, and we were just back to the office on Wednesday with the team. A lot of people seeing them for the first time, and energy was great. And I think that's kind of what fully remote on production time was more efficient for us than kind of being on site. And it's like we were able to execute a lot, and it feels good that, okay, this could be kind of the future, but having seen the energy. And so we're going now for 2 days at the office. We'll try this as our hybrid model, that Monday, Friday at the office, Tuesday to Thursday at work remote.
Zweimal in die Woche, right?
Yes, zweimal die Woche. I'm not sure what you're referring to, mein Freund. We'll see how that goes. We're hiring with that in mind. Relocation to Berlin. I think there's benefits in games business to work at the same space, and because of the fact that companies in games don't need to be hundreds or thousands of people, you can still have world-class teams in 100 people. So it's decent to assume that it's efficient to be in one city.
I agree 100%. I mean, we also have a studio in Berlin, and we also are focusing on that. Berlin is a great city to relocate. I wouldn't
Can't
live
complain.
there.
Yeah, it's
I
10
wouldn't
years
live
now.
there, but most people would. Very international city. You can find friends. It's not that expensive. It's of a good size, like a 3 million people living
Building a
in
games
Berlin.
company, very like Helsinki is a bloodbath on recruiting, I would expect.
Yeah, yeah.
With 20 people, I think we've got 13 or 14 nationalities now.
Mm-hmm.
Tells a bit about kind of, and all of our recruiting calls, reaching out like outside of Germany, talking to talented game developers. The question of would you be okay to relocate to Berlin is like, no, I want to move there. I remember doing the interviews at Digital Chocolate and asking the same about Helsinki, and yeah, Sweden's great or whatever, Stockholm. Like, well, how bad are the winters?
Yeah, yeah. It's not even that. I think Berlin is just easier for relocation. Like the culture and the fact that a lot of people are coming from outside Berlin. Like I'll give we have now 17 people in our company, not a single German, and we have most of our people in Berlin. And it's like that's how international the city is.
It's very international, yeah.
It's very international, and through that means people are coming from somewhere. And because people are coming from somewhere, when you come into a studio in Germany, it is very easy to make friends, and that's eventually what retains you in a city, is that you're able to connect. Now, when you come to Finland, no offense, but you ain't gonna be invited to no dinner parties. like Finns keep to themselves so much that they go on like a summer cottage for a month where they don't want to see you during the vacation time.
Yeah, I have to say in terms of all the kind of factors of culture, Nordic healthcare system, and all these things. It's kind of I was positively surprised to see how well things work in Berlin. So 10 years with a family here, kids in school, things that we typically appreciate about Nordic countries and systems there. They're actually pretty well organized over here as well. So a nice combination of a little bit more world city, but still with those like life.
Would you say Berlin is like Helsinki with a flavor?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of one part of Finland. Like I read news about my city in Helsingin Sanomat, the Helsinki newspaper, on a regular interval. So it seems like there's some sort of a spiritual connection there.
Yeah. No, it's a great place. It's a great place for growing a games company. So that's really cool. And you're thinking one location. By the way, I do have to agree 100% that working together in the same space, and that's why we're kind of focusing on one studio as well, to scaling one studio at a time as well. It's just the energy is totally different. The pace is different. People are talking to each other. I have my serious doubts about most of the companies that are saying that they're doing fully remote, because what's the difference? Then you're just contractors. Like, why do you even hire the person? Just contract them. Just outsource your game after a while. Like if nobody's seeing anybody. So I think
multiple models will work for different companies.
You
kind of need to figure it for yourself and for your company.
It is what it is. I think your model is much more sustainable, and in the end, you create that sort of a team spirit and culture. You can't build really a culture through Zoom calls or Hangouts. It's a totally different thing. So now everybody's seeing each other and hanging out, going for lunch and so forth. So that's a big thing, because people join game companies not only to work on a specific game. They also join game companies to work with other people who play games, who have similar type of background, and to make friends, to be in a part of a community, and that's impossible if you're doing it through a Zoom call.
It's tougher. We've tried the 9-month lockdown, and we tried all kinds of team events online.
I've seen they're the saddest thing. And of course, like my wife works in a little bit of a bigger company, and they're the saddest things. We're like, hey, let's do a cooking class through a Zoom. I'm like, what are you doing? Or like a wine tasting through Zoom. That's like
no blame in trying them. I think it's good to try,
it's good to try. It's good to try. I mean, the easiest thing is to just play online. Like that works really well in the gaming company, because everybody can just log in and play together. That's what we'd normally do. And that's probably the best way to hang out. But don't get me on a Zoom cooking class. Like, I'm not doing any of that. All right. So next for you guys is really picking up the pace, going through Series A, raising more capital to fuel your growth.
Yeah, for acceleration, we kind of need now it's the time. So we came out of summer, have all these measured and figured, have a bit of a vision of how we kind of approach the genre. And it's going to be calls in September. Already had a good bunch. And I think then.
So let me ask you a question. What if like, because I do these predictions all the time. What if certain, Israeli company or one of the big boys call you up and say, "Hey, dude, good work on this little merge game. Let's add some rocket fuel to this little ship and let's go to the moon." Like, are you really keen on? Is it only going through the like you want to scale this yourself, or are you open for other opportunities?
Yeah, I guess we'll have the calls in September. It's you always figure kind of self
talk with everybody,
build everything yourself and just add money, or then kind of the partnering parts. But so it is nice to explore, but I think we've grown confidence in our ability to also push on kind of the self-publishing route. It's been fairly quick learnings on that, and it's about the talent and seeing kind of the references there from other companies, that small teams going at it. And
perfect.
We do think that maybe there's also somewhere halfway that investors that are actually going to be able to add value on exactly that, not only capital for
strategic investors.
Well, strategic, but also I guess some VCs have now a nice angle on being able to help on actual like hands-on stuff. So we'll figure the rocket's ready. It's already on its way. Add fuel. So
I understand. The primary thing, like, you've been able to prove out so many things and scale so nicely that like I hear from you that the primary approach is really kind of growing yourself. You can see the growth, and basically all you need is capital, and VCs are good at that. Like that's really what they do.
They're happy to hear the news.
To grow.
Yeah, no, that's a nice message for Series A.
Yeah.
KPI driven, kind of very, very clear to see that this, like we can push this much faster and further with adding capital, and yeah, that's.
All right, Antti, I'll let you out on this final question. What would be your message to all the aspiring merge companies, which there are many, and they are now pushing through? They've gone through their 8 weeks boot camp of making a merge game. What would be your advice now, kind of being a senior in the game and in the playoffs, going towards the finals?
Yeah. Classic ice hockey reference, Gretzky. Don't skate where the puck is.
We lost 90% of our audience just now when you mentioned
skate
ice
where
hockey.
the puck is going. Yeah, no. So that's of course I think it's a good idea to, like, everyone who's like quickly done something, spun it out. I think you learn a lot by doing that. I kind of fond memories from Digital Chocolate, like backtracking or reverse engineering Oregon Trail, or the what's the forest
Frontierville.
So the learnings we had with just reverse engineering and kind of doing that is that's a great way to get started. But then the next part is kind of like, maybe don't get hung up on that one game and try to fix that. Maybe there's a way to look at more at 2022, and because it's moving at such a speed that when you're building now, you kind of need to think a little bit ahead and try to figure what's kind of something that separates you from the rest of the pack. I would think there's a positive. You'll take a risk, but then again, like, there's no safe way in games to kind of just, this is going to be a proven formula to make it. You need to take the risk. You need to have that vision and just go at it, and because only way to win.
In a purely American way, I'm going to reiterate, and that is understand what works, what doesn't, by deconstructing existing merge games. So understand the market really well. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. But once you get that, and once you get your core working, differentiate, because you're not going to win with small incremental innovations. You have to stand out in the market. Otherwise, you'll get drowned as the market moves so fast. The CPIs are growing. The bigger are getting bigger, and the smaller are dying off.
Yeah, playoffs going on.
That's it.
Going for the cup.
All right, Antti, thank you so much for joining. I know you're busy scaling up your game, scaling up your company. Best of luck. Awesome. Looking really forward to 2022 when Merge Mayor is hitting the top 5.
working on making predictions happen.
Exactly.
Space, so.
And
Merge Mania continues. It's nowhere near at its end, so it's going to be crazy next year. So.
Just at the start. And how people can get in contact with you the best?
LinkedIn, Antti@starberry.games, email. I think that's just
perfect. It will be in the description of this podcast below. So shout out to Antti, shout out to Starberry, shout out to Berlin, and shout out to everybody listening to this podcast. Hope this was a learning experience when it comes to merging games. So on that,
cool. Thank you, Miska.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.